Play it forward, Jazlyn Yoder, filmmaker and actor of Latch. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Jazlyn, it is a pleasure to have you on the show. I watched Latch. It's a great film about a very important topic. Would you like to introduce yourself or set up the movie in any way before we start? And it's totally optional.
Sure. Hi, I'm Jazlyn Yoder, as you said. I directed this film. I wrote, directed, and starred in this film called Latch. We filmed it in 2019, and it was a film based on actually my sister's experience with postpartum depression. It was something that was foreign to us, and my sister experienced it with all of her children. She now has three kids, but at that point she had only had her two. And it's very much it affects the whole family when someone goes through this. And I felt like it wasn't talked about. I hadn't really, I'd heard the term kind of before, but when you really experience someone that you love going through it, it's very eye-opening. And I just felt like it was something that needed to be talked about. And I also felt like I wanted to put this story out there just so that other women can watch this and be like, okay, thank you. I'm not some weirdo that is like a bad mom. This is actually something that's incredibly common. And, feel seen and heard. And yeah, I feel like that's what movies are all about, is connecting and like,
Sure.
feeling like we're all more alike than we are different.
For sure, for sure.
Hmm.
Feeling that shared humanity between
Mm,
us, and not feeling alone. You know, Jaslyn, it's like I was telling you and sharing with you, before we started the interview, is like my daughter's 4 today. Me and my wife know exactly what you're talking about. And whether it escalates into depression or whether it's just your typical stuff, it
yeah,
is very, very, very challenging having a
yeah.
child. I remember sitting in the park and my with my baby, and she was, I don't know, 2 or whatever. And I was talking to a woman who came to the park, just random person, and I was like, why don't people tell you how hard it is? This is so, we struck up this conversation, me and Lisa always saying, why, nobody talks about
Yeah.
it. And she told me, I remember she was saying in England, they don't persecute against infanticide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I've got to look that up if that's true. But the point
Wow.
is, it's
Hmm.
so common and it's
Hmm.
so even perhaps even acknowledged in other cultures where it may not
Hmm.
be as much talked about as it needs to be in America. So, um,
Hmm.
thank you for making this movie. It is, extremely compelling story about a young mother's experience of like it's not all roses. It
Yeah.
takes time to fall in love with your child, and it is
Hmm.
a physically and mentally exhausting activity that
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like your baggage saddled with for a lifetime.
Yeah. It's so funny because, like I said, I wrote this, and, everything that I channeled to create this thing was all through whether something my sister had told me or I did some, research on my own. But ever since creating that film, I now have a baby myself.
Oh,
I had a
congrats.
Thanks.
That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So we had a baby. He's about to be a year at the end of the month. Um, but it was so bizarre in this film Latch. I hadn't watched it for probably a year or so. And I watched it a few months ago after, experiencing having a baby myself. And I couldn't believe like how spot on those things were. And it's like, it's like easy to say that, I made it. I'm like, wow, it's so accurate. It's such an honest depiction of
Right.
like,
Oh, yeah.
but
It is.
really, like, I had
Yeah.
kind of, you kind of, after a while with your project, you kind of disconnect from them for a little bit. So I did really watch it with kind of a fresh set of eyes. And also, I mean, I feel like when you become a parent, you like are a new person. It's like I was watching it as a new human being. And I couldn't believe how accurate the depiction of early motherhood was. And I wouldn't say I went through postpartum depression. I think it was just like the regular, like, holy, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss, but like, holy
Yeah.
shit,
Yeah.
this is like the hardest thing that I've ever been through
Ever.
my whole entire life. And
Yeah.
there's no way I could have prepared for it, because it's just, it's you can't fathom it until it's
No.
very real and in front
No.
of your face.
No.
But when I watched my film, I was just like, I was blown away by how accurate the depiction of postpartum was. And it really made me just have kind of a new respect for filmmaking, because I had not gone through postpartum myself. I listened to somebody else's experience, another human being's experience, and I used my, empathy and whatever, I used all my skills that I have as a human being to listen to someone's story, take it in, and create something.
Yeah.
Um, and then come to find out, once I had experienced it myself, I watch it and I'm like, I can't believe how truly accurate that was. And it just kind of made me like, it just reaffirmed my belief that like making films is, it really is like such a human, you're just channeling the human experience, and you don't necessarily have to experience it yourself in order to connect on this, I don't know, collective consciousness
Yes.
level. I don't know
Yes.
exactly what it is,
Appreciate
but
it. Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
I it was just such a proof for me that I'm like, I was able to channel this feeling that is something that I didn't even truly understand until I did have a kid, like on like my soul level, but I was able to understand it enough that I can really, like, I depicted a very honest um experience on in this film. I was like, it was pretty, not that I think it's like, I mean, I'm proud of
It's
the film, but
magic. It's magic.
but
It's
it's like,
magic.
yeah, it was pretty incredible to watch it after becoming a mom and being like, holy shit, like I really did actually, you know, I channeled some truth there for sure.
And what I hear you saying is that the transcendent power of art and storytelling is
Hmm.
real. That's a real thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the oldest, we've been telling stories
For
for ever. That's like how humans evolved, is sitting around a campfire or whatever, telling,
Yeah. Yeah.
telling stories and like creating histories. And like film is just, this, like this generation's like
Right.
storytelling.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing with light, it's done with light like campfires,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So one of, I think you may have covered it, but the inspiration, I have three stock questions to play for. And the first one is inspiration. And I think, with you, you've talked about kind of the situational inspiration with your sister and empathizing and, the story not being told a lot or enough or at all. But
Hmm.
there's also like that thing that inspired you to connect with this story and really want to take it on. Can you recall what was that emotional thing that really resonated with this particularly in you?
Um, I think that, so me and my sister are very different. We were raised by the same parents in the same household, but somehow we are completely different. But it's just me and my sister, like it's just us two. And she has always wanted to be a mother. That was the thing that she just, that was her dream. And then for her to have this baby, and I was the baby of the family. I'm the youngest, and so I had never really experienced a connection with a baby. And so when my sister had her first, her name's Scarlett, I was just completely in love with my niece. Like I just had never felt that feeling before.
Yeah.
And, for me, I'm like, this is the best thing to ever happen. And then for my sister, it's like I expected it to just be such a natural thing for her. And to see her struggle in the way that she did, it was really
Mm, mm,
just, it
mm.
was shocking to see. It was a complex thing, because witnessing Scarlett, my niece, like that was when I always knew I wanted to have kids, but when I was holding her and like creating this bond with her, that's when I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to have a baby myself. Like it just like woke
Yeah.
something up in me that I'm like, wow, this is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
But it's also really not awesome at the same time. And it like when I see my sister just like I had never seen her in that way. And I just thought it was, I don't know, I don't know if it was like part of me was because I wasn't ready to have a child at that point, that I was like, I want to create a world where I am a mom, but then also like honor the moms that like the sacrifice that they go through to care for their kids, because it's like they you really you it's completely selfless. You can be like drowning in mud and like feeling like you can't get a freaking breath of fresh air because you're just like dying inside, but it doesn't matter because you have to keep this thing alive. It doesn't matter, like you can pick up your pieces eventually, but at the end of the day, like this thing is it, like that's it. Is the baby fed? Is it does it have a clean diaper? Is it sleeping? Probably not, but like you do your best to get it to sleep. Like and it's just such a selfless act that I was really inspired by it. I mean, it was like um yeah, I just think it's like such an, I like mothers inspire me. I think like and now of course like I'm a mother and I'm like, it's awesome. It's fucking hard as fuck.
Yeah.
But
Fucking hard as
um
fuck. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but it's truly, truly amazing. And yeah, so that's why like I mean like yeah, it's the first thing I ever finally directed myself. And I was talking to Chris
Wow.
years ago about my this idea, the seed of the idea, and Chris was like, why don't you write this and direct it? Because I was just, going on about it. I'm like, God, it's so crazy. Like I just like can't believe that this is what people go through and blah blah blah. He's like, you sound really passionate about this. Like maybe you should he's because I was always the actor in his projects, and I
Mm.
have a lot of opinions about everything. He's like, you have a lot of opinions about filmmaking. Why don't you make your own freaking
Do it.
film? Yeah. And
Yeah.
so yeah, he kind of like he definitely helped encourage me to get like pen to paper and get this story out there.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's so cool. That's a great story. I mean, I get it. It's just such a conflux of like these crazy extreme emotions in this little thing. And I
Hmm.
really resonate and love what you said about you can pick up your own pieces later. And
Hmm.
and it's so true. I mean, seeing Lisa, my wife, go through it and being here for it, um, we've just come to a point where she's now at 4, able to engage in the self-care and get even just the sleep to, pick up the pieces, 4 years later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm like just now starting to feel like I can see myself a little bit again. For a while, I'm
right,
like, I don't even like
right. Who is this person?
I was autopilot. I don't even
Yeah,
know if autopilot's
yeah,
the right thing. I'm just
yes,
kind of like knocking against walls trying to like figure out like
yeah.
how to get from point A to point B. And he still doesn't sleep through the night. So one day
Wow,
I'll get to sleep through the night.
wow. You
But
will, you will, you will.
yeah, it's definitely it's a battle.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. It's really inspiring. It really is to hear that.
Mhm.
The second question is, you said you watched the film recently. Now, as a viewer, what do you feel the statement of the movie is? The moral takeaway, if you will?
I guess I mean I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but I guess um it's really just kind of a recognizing the sacrifices that mothers do go through when they have a child. It's kind of insane. It's kind of an insane thing. And I think that, you know, mothers get taken for granted a lot because it's like that is their job. Once you bring a, you're the one that brought this child into the world. So like, do what you got to do. But I think a lot of the time moms kind of hold in the battles that they go through in order to, make sure everyone else feels okay and feels like, no, this is great. Yeah, I'm like, this is the best thing ever. Like and I think it's kind of just I don't know, just recognizing like the battles that moms do go through in order to bring every single person that is here right now came from a mother. And it was not easy. Like even if like I said, I didn't have postpartum depression, but that was the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life. So every single mom has, you know, birthed a child and also birthed themselves as a mother. It's like you become a new person. And so I feel like this is kind of just like an ode to how selfless motherhood could be and how painful it is, and that we should, give our moms a hug, because even if like nobody's perfect, everyone's a human being, but like ultimately like it is a selfless act of love, like motherhood is. And so yeah, it's that's
No doubt. I mean, that's probably like the most, the holistic piece of this, like compassion and creating this compassionate awareness around what this experience really is like. In it, for me, when I go watch through a film, I take three kind of notes. I take notes on the storyline, the subtext, and the theme. And the theme around this movie, what I wrote down is really this hope versus this disappointment and this disconnection. And you're so
mm,
hopeful about having this baby. You're like, oh my God, this is gonna be great. This is whoa, we're pregnant. Oh my God. And then,
mm-hmm,
okay, here it is. Whoa, I don't feel anything. This baby won't attach. I'm having
mm-hmm,
pain latching. This thing is
mm-hmm,
latched onto me. Get it away from me.
yeah,
Like all
yeah,
this. I'm in
mm-hmm.
adult diapers. I mean, I'm in
Yeah,
pain.
yeah,
So this, okay, then the reality takes in, and then this disappointment. And how do you accept where you are and grow through it and continue on a trajectory where you're not dumping the baby in the pool, right?
mm-hmm,
But
yeah,
you're fighting that instinct, because it
yeah,
is an instinct for
yeah,
everyone. And
yeah,
how do you overcome that instinct and elevate through your own suffering, this deep, deep agony, into becoming a more aware, conscious, loving being,
mm-hmm,
and that is
yeah,
like, there's this Hindu deity called Hanuman. I don't know if you're familiar with Hanuman,
mm,
but Hanuman is this monkey god, and he is the devotee to Ram, who's a higher level god in Hindus. And
mm-hmm,
so he's depicted as ripping open his chest to bare his heart.
mm-hmm,
So that image is like, this experience of that, and how do you take that and create love,
yeah,
and that
yeah,
the power I see in this.
yeah, cool, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Last
awesome,
question.
yeah.
um, it is, how have you personally been changed after making this movie?
Um, so I was just an actor before embarking on this, you know, being on
Just
the
an
other side of
actor.
the, I, I was very much like, I just want to act. Like that was
Yeah.
pretty much what I
Oh,
wanted.
I
But then,
see. I
yeah,
see.
but being around, being with Chris, and I was in, like I was saying earlier, like I was acted in pretty much all of his projects, but I had such a front row seat to the filmmaking process.
Yeah.
And he was always like kind of, getting my 2 cents on things. So when I finally decided, like there was definitely something that was like, itching for me, that like I wanted to create something myself. And I was also at a point where acting just wasn't enough for me to fulfill me. And because it's a very, what's the word, you're relying on other people to give
Yeah.
you the chance
Sure. Yep.
to act, and it's a very powerless
Oh,
place. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, you know what, this isn't fulfilling enough, and I think that if I just continue in this way, that I'm gonna quit the film industry, like because it's just
mhm.
not giving me enough. So I decided to write and direct something and kind of put myself in something that I care about, a role that like the reason why I like acting is because I like human beings, and I love like like every single human being comes with so much baggage, so much stuff that we like all really like. You could be rich, you could be poor, and there's like certain key human emotions that everyone can relate to, and empathize with. We're really all so connected, and that's why I loved acting. So being able to create a role that really inspired me and really kind of exercised the reason why I like love acting, um, really filled up my tank. And it was extremely hard. I very much underestimated how hard it would be to direct and act, especially in a dramatic thing like this, we had to, like, with scheduling, we had to, the climax of, like, the emotional climax of the story was our first scene at like 7 in the morning, on day
Yeah.
one. And I'm like,
Wow.
moving forward, next time I do that, I'm not going to put the emotional climax
Right.
at the very beginning. I'm like,
Yeah.
let's do something like
Yeah.
some inserts or something first.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just, it was such a crazy, crazy, enlightening experience. And it definitely, like, ever since then, I've been just writing things, producing things. Like, that is very much, how I see my career continuing, is being in front of the camera, but also behind the camera, because that is just so fulfilling. It's like, it's something that just acting, like, wasn't enough for me. So I'm so glad that I embarked on that experience, because it really just opened up a whole new world for me, that I'm now I can see, like, how my future can be in this world. Because for a second I was like, I don't
Wow.
know how I'm going to stay in this for a while and still feel good, because ultimately, like, this is a dream. Acting, it's not like you're saving lives, you're not a doctor. It's not like, oh, this is really hard, but I'm saving lives and I got to do this. It's like, no, if you're starting to hate acting, like, or starting to hate the industry, then, like, why are you doing it? Because ultimately, like, this is an art, and it is something that you should, like, at least feel more good feelings than not. um so yeah, embarking on, like, the filmmaking side of things has really ensured that I have, like, longevity in this, and, like, really feel like my cup is being filled. um and
Awesome.
so yeah, I'm, like, so grateful for Latch, and, like, opening that up in my brain, in my soul, being like, okay, cool, this is what I want to do. I'm happy where I am.
That's awesome. I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear carving out your path, seeing your own direction and
Hmm.
embracing it and having empowerment, the feeling of empowerment. And I just love the line about you love human beings. I don't think, I don't know, last time I heard that. So
I
that's,
know it's pretty rare, not a lot of people
yeah.
talk about that. But i
Yeah,
do i do believe that ultimately, like, we do have a lot. Everybody's trying to do their best, no
for
matter
sure.
what side of the coin you're on. You're doing what you think is best for the world and for yourself and for your family. And I just think that more people, if we, like, recognize that, we probably get further faster.
Yeah. Thank you, Jazlyn Yoder, filmmaker, an actor, a compassionate heart, and a talented filmmaker. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right.